Okay, so before we got all wrapped up in the first annual Qigong and Conscious Aging Conference, we were discussing the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine. This is the translation again by Mao Xingni. And we were talking about lineage traditions, how the emperors summoned to them the finest physicians of the time, and how this created in medicine lineage traditions that were passed down from father to son in some cases, and had been kept relatively secret up until some of them still, and some up until relatively recent times. I'd like to emphasize again how important this work, the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, is to both Taoism and the practice of original longevity medicine, Asian medicine. I'm going to quote at some length from the introduction by Mao Xingni and also from the very first chapter, and I think that this will be of great interest to you. This monumental classic is undoubtedly the most important work representing the crowning achievement of the Chinese prior to the first unification of the country by Emperor Qin Shi in 221 BCE. Its authorship was attributed to the great Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, who reigned during the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE. The Chinese refer to themselves as the descendants of Huangdi, who is the symbol of the vital spirit of Chinese civilization. The Neijing, this book, is actually two works, the Su Wen and the Ling Shu. The Su Wen, Questions of Organic and Fundamental Nature, is the subject of this translation, while the Ling Shu, once called Zhenjing, or Classic of Acupuncture, is a technical book on acupuncture and moxibustion. Historically, Nanjing refers to the Su Wen alone. The Neijing of the Yellow Emperor is one of the most important classics of Taoism. First, it gives a holistic picture of human life. It does not separate external changes, geographic, climactic, and seasonal, for instance, from internal changes, such as emotions and our responses to them. It tells how our way of life and our environment affect our health. The Neijing articulates a treasure of ancient knowledge concerning the natural way to health, implying that all phenomena of the world stimulate, tonify, subdue, or depress one's natural life force. This holistic life philosophy of the ancient developed ones represents the basic tenets of the integral way, a life lived in harmony with the universal law. The impact of the Neijing on subsequent Chinese discoveries and inventions is far-reaching. Its material is not confined merely to Chinese medicine, though there is no higher authority than this. It also discusses all the facets of human life that affect birth, growth, reproduction, and death. In this work, one will find a wealth of knowledge, etiology, physiology, diagnosis, therapy, and prevention of disease, as well as an in-depth investigation of such diverse subjects as ethics, psychology, astronomy, meteorology, and chronobiology. All subjects are discussed in a holistic context that says life is not fragmented, as envisioned by modern science, but rather that all the pieces make up an interconnected whole. Humans are the offspring of the universe and therefore are subject to its laws. So you're going to hear in this first chapter many of the themes that we discussed in the previous videos, that the emperors were concerned with longevity, that they were concerned with fertility, vigor, vitality, the capacity to reproduce and have children. And these are the main topics that are under discussion in this first chapter. I'm going to read selected paragraphs from it. During his reign, Huangdi discoursed on medicine, health, lifestyle, nutrition, and Taoist cosmology with his ministers Qibo, Lei Gong, and others. Their very first discussion began with Huangdi inquiring, "I've heard in the days of old everyone lived 100 years without showing the usual signs of aging. In our time, however, people age prematurely, living only 50 years. Is this due to a change in the environment? Or is it because people have lost the correct way of life?" Qibo replied, "In the past, people practiced the Tao, the way of life. They understood the principle of balance of yin and yang as represented by the transformation of the energies of the universe. Thus, they formulated practices such as Qigong and exercises combining stretching, massaging, and breathing to promote energy flow, and meditation to help maintain and harmonize themselves with the universe. They ate a balanced diet at regular times, arose and retired at regular hours, avoided overstressing their bodies and minds, and refrained from overindulgence of all kinds. They maintained well-being of body and mind, thus it is not surprising that they lived over 100 years. These days, people have changed their way of life. They drink wine as though it were water, indulge excessively in destructive activities, drain their jing, the body's essence that is stored in the kidneys. Some translations have this as enter the chambers of love in an intoxicated condition. And deplete their chi. They do not know the secret of conserving their energy and vitality. Seeking emotional excitement and momentary pleasures, people disregard the natural rhythm and order of the universe. They fail to regulate their lifestyle and diet and sleep improperly. So it is not surprising that they look old at 50 and die soon thereafter. Previously, people led a calm and honest existence, detached from undue desire and ambition. They lived with an untainted conscience and without fear. They were active but never depleted themselves. Because they lived simply, these individuals knew contentment as reflected in their diet of basic but nourishing foods and attire that was appropriate to the season but never luxurious. Since they were happy with their position in life, they did not feel jealousy or greed. They had compassion for others, and they were helpful and honest, free from destructive habits. They remained unshakable and unswayed by temptations, and they were able to stay centered even when adversity arose. They treated others justly, regardless of their level of intelligence or social position. So like many cultures, the Chinese have a tradition that there was a golden age, and in the golden age people lived longer and were more ethical and more moral and better people, and that society was peaceful and harmonious, and we all lived to a grand old age. Huang Di asked, when one grows old, one cannot bear children. Is this due to heredity or to the loss of one's procreative energy? Chibo answered, in general, the reproductive physiology of women, now the females go in a 7-year cycle, the males go in an 8-year cycle. And this is a chart that I've drawn behind me. On this axis we have age, and on this axis we have life energy. So as I read the text, you can follow along here. The women do a 7-year cycle, excuse me, and up to 28, and then things start to decline. The men have a slightly longer cycle, an 8-year cycle, that takes them up to 36 or so, and then start to decline. This will be covered in the text. And then this yellow line that I've drawn here is the golden age, the way things were in the golden age. And possibly what the potential is for human life, the real potential. So we'll go through these. In general, the reproductive physiology of woman is such that at 7 years of age, her kidney energy becomes full, her permanent teeth come in, and her hair grows long. At 14 years, the Tuan Qi, or fertility essence, matures. The Ren conception and Chang vital channels responsible for conception open. Menstruation begins and conception is possible. At 21 years, the kidney energy is strong and healthy, the wisdom teeth appear, and the body is vital and flourishing. At 28 years, the bones and tendons are well developed, and the hair and secondary sex characteristics are complete. This is the height of female development. At 35 years, the Yang Ming stomach and large intestine channels that govern the major facial muscles begin to deplete, the muscles begin to atrophy, facial wrinkles appear, and the hair begins to thin. At 42, all 3 Yang channels, Tai Yang, Xiao Yang, and Yang Ming, are exhausted. The entire face is wrinkled, and the hair begins to turn gray. At 49 years, the Ren and Chang channels are completely empty, and the Tian Qi has dried up. Hence, the flow of menses ceases, and the woman is no longer able to conceive. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49. And then, again, this is just reproductive capacity. It's not full lifespan. But the reproductive capacity was what they were mainly concerned with. Let's go on to the men. In the male, at 8 years of age, the kidney energy becomes full, the permanent teeth appear, and the hair becomes long. At 16 years of age, the kidney is ample, the Tian Qi is mature, and the Jing is ripe, so procreation is possible. At 24 years, the kidney Qi is abundant, the bones and tendons grow strong, and the wisdom teeth come in. At the 32nd year, the body is at the peak of strength, and functions of the male are at their height. By 40, the kidney begins to wane, teeth become loose, and the hair starts to fall. At 48, the yang energy of the head begins to deplete, the face becomes sallow, the hair grays, and the teeth deteriorate. By 56 years, the liver energy weakens, causing the tendons to stiffen. At 64, the Tuan Qi dries up and the Jing is drained, resulting in kidney exhaustion, fatigue, and weakness. When the when the energy of all the organs is full, the excess energy stored in the kidney is excreted for the purpose of conception. But now the organs have aged and their energies have become depleted, the bones and tendons have become frail and stiff, and movements are hampered. The kidney reservoir becomes empty, marking the end of the power of conception. Huangdi remarked, I notice, however, that some people, even though they are quite elderly, can still conceive. So once again, what are we concerned with? We're concerned with longevity, we're concerned with virility, vitality, the capacity to produce and conceive children. I notice that some people, even though they're quite elderly, can still conceive. Chibo replied, this is because these individuals inherited an unusual abundance of Jing and also realized how to lead their lives properly and protect their vitality. At 64 and 49, for males and females respectively, these individuals still have excess kidney energy as well as qi and blood, so they still have the capacity to procreate. However, men past the age of 64 and women past 49 have normally lost this ability. We want to push it a little further. Huangdi asked, if a wise one who follows the Tao is over 100 years of age, can he or she still retain the ability to procreate? Chibo answered, yes, it is possible. If one knows how to live a correct way of life, conserve one's energy, and follow the Tao, yes, it is possible. One could procreate at the age of 100 years. Huangdi inquired, I've heard of people in ancient times spoken of as the immortals, who knew the secrets of the universe and held yin and yang, the world, in the palms of their hands. They extracted essence from nature and practiced various disciplines such as qigong and breathing and visualization exercises to integrate the body, mind, and spirit. They remained undisturbed and thus attained extraordinary levels of accomplishment. Can you tell me about them? Chibo responded, the immortals kept their mental energies focused and refined and harmonized their bodies with the environment. Thus, they did not show conventional signs of aging and were able to live beyond biological limitations. And then he described several types of beings that were achieved beings, the sages, and natural people who followed the Tao and were called naturalists. And all of these were able to attain a longer lifespan, somewhere around the realm of reach of about 120 years or so. And that's what's illustrated here. I've given this theoretical person more qi than the average person, and I've given them a much longer lifespan. I believe that the current average lifespan for women in the United States is 84 to 86, and for men 80 to 82, somewhere around there. I've tried to illustrate that on this chart, and then again, the potential that's there for us. So the emperor, excuse me, make sure I didn't just bang that out of whack. The emperor brought to him the finest physicians of the age in an attempt to maintain virility and longevity as long as possible. And this led to lineage traditions. Now, the only place you're going to find a bigger ego than in medicine is in martial arts. And in martial arts, it's hard to say which one's bigger, really. But in martial arts, a similar lineages developed. And I was interested in the lineage of the man who I was studying, one of the people I was studying with this weekend, the people that sponsored the conference, Master Ming Tong Gu. I was interested in his lineage, and there was certainly no chance during the workshop to discuss this. I bought his book. It's called Wisdom Healing, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce, well, I will, but it's going to be wrong. Jineng is the way it's spelt, but I'm sure the pronunciation is different. Jineng Qigong, teachings by Master Ming Tong Gu based on the work of Dr. Pang Ming. So we go to part of the book where a student has asked him, what's the lineage of Dr. Pang? And again, most of these lineages were held secret. And so if you were to become a lineage disciple, a great deal was expected of you. Two of the things that were expected of you, one was that you were going to keep everything secret that you were taught. And number two was that you weren't going to train with anybody else, that there was one right way, basically, to do things my way, only in my school. And you'll get this a lot still, both in religious practice, in spiritual practices, and in martial arts certainly, and to some degree in medicine. Only one right way, only in my school. So can you explain the lineage of Dr. Pang? When he was asked to be a lineage holder, he said he was not that person. He denounced them, and so that is his approach. I think denounced may be a little bit strong of a word. Perhaps there was a better choice there, but you get the idea. At the time he was studying with his grandmasters, the tradition was very strict, which means if you're the lineage holder, you have to hold the secrets. You can't share the knowledge. That's still happening in some lineages. Dr. Pang decided to denounce these lineage holders so he could share the secrets. Once again, I think maybe denounce not quite the right word. Even so, at the time he was doing healings and teaching the knowledge in the medicineless hospital in China, Dr. Pang started the largest Qigong hospital in China, all Qigong, no medicines. When he was teaching at the center, some high beings came in and checked on him, and they could not do anything about that or limit him for one simple reason. His intention was so pure, so high, there was no way to attack or discredit him. I'm not sure what they mean by high beings there, whether they're referring to some sort of mortals or something else. There are many different lineages in China. Some are warrior-like and aggressive. Sometimes when organizing the Qi field, we'll talk about that at another time, a grandmaster may show up or send in some students. They checked in on Dr. Pang to give him a little bit of a hard time, projecting fear into the energy field in the process. What happened was, to their surprise, the energy field became stronger because Dr. Pang knows how to organize the Qi field to harmonize the energy. Many times these people realized what was happening and they would leave, or sometimes he would even point out people and thank them for showing up. Dr. Pang has many teachers from different lineages and doesn't identify himself as one specific lineage. Although he did trace the main source of his teaching to the Hunyuan school, which is traced back to Lao Tzu. The question for students to ask is, what is more beneficial, to study with a master that is coming from the lineage holder tradition, or to learn from a master that works with a large group? That can be an individual choice. It depends on what you want to do with what you cultivate. I have studied both lineage and integrative traditions. They are equally beneficial. Let's see. His approach is to not keep the secret. A lot of his technique 30 years ago was considered to be quite secretive, and now it's quite open. For example, guiding the students to visualize the words is a profound technique. In the old days, a master would pick up a really qualified disciple, call them into the room, one student at a time, tell them the secret. Now we just cultivate this. They wouldn't talk to each other about the secrets, and each would think they were the only one given the secret, so they would really treasure that, cultivate that. It can be very powerful, but we do it slightly differently. Everybody receives the same information. Often it's more difficult to appreciate. Same thing with the teaching of visualizing 1,000 people around you. That was another big secret. You feel so empowered. So there has been an evolution, and this is a good thing. There's been an evolution from these secret lineages to now many teachers recognizing that the world is in very, very desperate shape and needs all the help that it can get. And we are very fortunate, I believe, in our time to have all of these wisdom teachings basically available to us on the internet. If you look, you can find them, or you can at least find the teachers. And these teachers are now teaching this stuff. So we're really very fortunate to be in the time that we're in. And we'll be going into more depth on many of these issues as time goes on. And I've put in a request to interview personally Master Ming Tonggu. We'll see if he is interested in that. And I look forward to our next visit. Until then, remember, every moment is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to practice. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for your time.